Hi guys, so I've had a few requests from people wondering, what made you a potential target for a narcissist? And there could be a number of different reasons, but in general, these are people that target others for qualities that they do not possess. So, remember one of the defining characteristics of a narcissist, psychopath, sociopath is they do not have empathy, or they have a very low level of empathy. So they're often drawn to people that have an overabundance of empathy. That could be people that are very empathetic. It could also be people that are sort of on the codependent spectrum. So they're looking for people, whether this targeting is subconscious or not, who knows, right? But they're looking for empathetic people. They are looking for people that are givers, and codependents are almost like pathological givers, and narcissists are sort of pathological takers, right? So they're looking for, very, big-hearted people that are very giving, very generous with their time and emotional energy and money and resources. They're looking for people that do not have very healthy boundaries, and quite often that's people that tend to be more codependent. Codependents often grew up in sort of enmeshed, toxic, dysfunctional families, and they never learned what normal, healthy boundaries are. Often narcissists will target people that have low self-esteem, and a lot of times these people can be extraordinary. They can be amazing humans that are hardworking and that are kind and beautiful and empathetic and good people, but due to their childhood trauma, they may have developed sort of low self-esteem sort of patterns or compliance patterns, right? So it's very common for them to target people that are like that. Narcissists they love hard workers because these people are, in general, they're pretty lazy. Their laziness can be in the form of, they can sort of be workaholics at their job or whatever, but often you'll find laziness in that they do not do emotional work. So they're very emotionally and spiritually lazy and relationally lazy. So they don't feed relationships. They don't reciprocate relationships. They don't get the idea that you've got to give in order to receive. So yeah, that's who they often target. It's also very common in the literature that, perhaps narcissists will target somebody who's recently been through a trauma. That trauma could have been a recent death of somebody close to them. It could have been some sort of, also it could have been that they were out of another toxic relationship, because a lot of times codependents will find themselves in relationships with multiple different narcissists. That's not uncommon. So, they can definitely target people that are, fresh out of some sort of trauma. They target the vulnerable, right? So, be very wary if you're fresh out of a relationship with a narcissist, if you've had a recent trauma, be very, very wary, because you may be attracting another psychological manipulator. And remember, a lot of times with these narcissists, they love to appear, there's one certain kind, or a couple of certain kinds, that really like to appear to be the rescuer, right? They love to look like they're rescuing or saving that, poor, disadvantaged, woman or man. And this is all a ruse. It's all about, presentation. It's very performative. It's so that they look like a good guy or a good girl. At the heart of the root of it, the deep down, these people really, when it comes to actually doing the work to rescue someone and really helping someone, they're usually not interested in that. They want to look like the rescuer. They want to look like the savior, like the knight in shining armor. They really kind of get off on that, right? And part of that is because that makes them feel superior, right? You are in, they're in the up position and you're in the down position. They really need to feel better than the person that they're with, because remember, their whole self-esteem is based on this idea of, perfection, and that they're better than, right? So they often try to target somebody who has, some sort of weakness, and it could be, trauma, it could be low self-esteem. But again, I want to reiterate that the survivors, usually you are a really extraordinary person, and if you do have low self-esteem, it's probably because you don't know how freaking great you really are. So most of the time, these survivors, if you want to meet some of the nicest people in the world, talk to a survivor of a narcissistic relationship. These are kind, empathetic, caring, giving, loving people. But your job, if you're a survivor, is to learn healthy boundaries. There's a really good book called Dating with Boundaries that I've been reading, and it is excellent. And it talks about, really, teaches you some very definitive strategies. If you are getting, if you've gotten through the healing process enough to consider dating again, it gives you some very strategic, intelligent ways to go about it to keep yourself safe and protected, and to really let people show who they are before you get either intimately bonded or psychically bonded to them. It's a very, very helpful book. Once again, it's called Dating with Boundaries. And I can't remember the author, but it's a really good book. So, yeah, a lot of times they're going to target, empaths, codependents. They're going to target really giving people, really open-hearted, people that have a high level of empathy. People that are very relational, people that typically have really good relationships with other people and friends and family. That's who they're going to target. And those are all really beautiful qualities. And, one thing to note too, if you have been discarded by a narcissist, that is literally the best compliment you could ever have, because probably what that means is that you stopped putting up with their bullshit and you started setting boundaries. And when you did that, they were like, oh no, this can't fly, because they don't respect boundaries whatsoever. They have poor boundaries themselves. Narcissists are terrible at setting boundaries themselves. They have none. They can't say no. They're just very, their boundaries are really impaired. So when you started setting boundaries and taking care of yourself and standing up for yourself and doing some loving self-care, they were out of there, because they just can't, they can't tolerate that. They need victims that they can treat like garbage and that won't complain. That's just what they need. And they will financially abuse you. They will sometimes sexually abuse you. They are, these people are duplicitous. They're going to lie and gaslight and cheat and steal and all the things that they do. So if you got out of the relationship with a narcissist, all I can tell you is you are so in a win-win situation, like a winning situation. And now your job is to do the healing and to take some time. Do not date right away. Take some time. Do your healing. Maybe do some work on your codependence. Learn some really healthy boundaries so you never, ever find yourself in a relationship with another manipulator. There's just no reason to do it. You can be stronger and better than you've ever been before when you get out of these relationships, if you do the work to learn healthy boundaries. So thank you so much, and I hope you have a fantastic day and thriving and full of joy, and get out there and exercise and spend time with your friends and family and heal, because healing is possible. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.